Hi, I'm Dennis Lewis from ratio.dev, and in this video, I'm going to explain to you how to connect your Bubble application with your Relevance AI tools that you've built, and how to integrate them seamlessly so that you can provide the best user experience for your users. So to do this, there's actually two different ways of integrating Bubble with Relevance. And you're going to choose the method that best adapts to your specific scenario. So if your tool is relatively short and returns a response quickly, like in under a minute or so, you can use the first method, which is using just one simple API call. However, if you've built a more complex tool in Relevance AI that does more operations chains, more calls to LLM models, does external calls, and takes longer to process, then you're going to have to use the second method, which requires two separate API calls and a workflow structure in your Bubble application so that you can manage them correctly. And I'm going to show you both of those. So let's jump into the Bubble Builder and get started. So here we are in the Bubble Builder in the API connector. This is where all the magic happens when you connect stuff from your Bubble application to the outside world. And in the first case, what we're going to see is the simple case. So where we just need one API call. Here we have a tool on Zircals created that generates a featured image for the user. It communicates with Relevance AI. It passes a JSON structure with a series of parameters. So maybe the title that needs to be there, if it needs to generate an image with AI, or if we've already uploaded an image that needs to get integrated into this featured image. And it processes this information and returns an image. And this whole process is fairly quick. And so we can do it just in one API call. So we pass it through these parameters to Relevance AI, and it returns the URL to the generated image. And that makes it really simple, because if I go into the reusable element where this all happens, we have a button down here. Scroll down, you'll see there's a button called Generate Image. And if I go to the workflow of this button, you can see that here we have trigger image is the actual custom workflow that is going to be called. And all that does is goes generate here. Let's go to, let's see, trigger free image here, and yeah, it's just going to pass through that one API call here. So it does a few more little things inside the Bubble app, but here is the single API call, passes through the parameters. Once it gets that, it gets the response back and stores the title and the URL for that image. Really simple, one API call and you're done. However, like I mentioned earlier, some tools are more complicated. So we have another tool which is called our topical map tool. This tool does a lot of work inside Relevance AI. It does keyword research. It maps out the different subtopics. It creates blog posts for the pillar blog posts. It creates blog post titles for all of the subtopics, and generally just creates an entire array of information that comes back to Bubble and is used inside the tool and then presented to the user. So this is a more complicated example, and we can't do it all in one API call. So now let's go back to our plugins here and to the API connector, and let's see what we've done, how we handle that. So I'm going to close this one down, collapse this here. And let's look at the first API call we have is the request call. And so here I'm just going to call Relevance AI, and I'm going to say, hey, I want you to run, these are the parameters, run this tool, and Relevance AI will give me back an ID for this job, a job ID. And I'm going to store that in my Bubble database. And then what I'm going to do in the workflow is I'm going to periodically check with Relevance and say, have you finished this job ID? And if you have, then I'll give me the results. And if you haven't, I'll wait a little longer and try again. So how do we do this? Well, this is all going to happen in backend workflows. And where this is going to happen, let me go down here to the topical map tool. There's two workflows here that are important for you to understand. The first is the request, and what that does is it calls the first API call, and then it just stores the job ID. And then it says, wait 90 seconds and check and see if the job is complete by calling our second workflow, which is topical map load. Topical map load is a little bit more complicated. First, it's going to call Relevance AI with this job ID, and it's going to say, hey, have you finished yet? And if it has, it's going to go and do all of its work. There could be quite a few different steps here. That all happens in Bubble. It's all regarding the Bubble functionality. But if it hasn't completed, or if it's failed, because Relevance can basically give us back three responses. It's complete, it's in progress, or it's failed. If it's not complete and it's not failed, we can check these here. Then, so if the result is not complete, closed, and it is also not failed, and the number of retries is less than or equal to 5, because I want to make sure that I don't get into an infinite loop here, a recursive loop. So every time I check, I'm going to say I've tried once, twice, 3, and so it's going to try up to 5 times. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call myself again. I'm going to call topical map load again, 1 minute down the road, and have it start off the process again. Now, if it fails, or it's been 5 times, then I'm just going to quit. So this is called polling. And what it means is it's just a process we've built that will ask Relevance, are you finished? Nope. Okay, I'll wait another minute. Are you finished? Yep. Do my work, and I'm done. No, I failed for whatever reason, then I'm going to stop and then do whatever else I need to do in my Bubble application when I detect an error. So you can see this process is a little bit more complicated, but it actually achieves a lot more. And based on the tool that you've built, you can use either one of these two different methods to integrate Relevance AI with your Bubble application. So hope you've enjoyed this video, and if so, join me on the next one.